Okay, we're reading chapter 5 in Nehemiah. That is after they built the wall and everybody's all they have accomplished that task. Now, after he took care of the wall, now he finds out what are the problems of the people. So people start talking to him and bringing up their complaints. יש אשר אומרים, בנינו ובנותינו אנחנו רבים, וניקחה דגן ונאכלה ונחיה. Some of them had big families and they needed to buy wheat, but they didn't have enough money. So they say, שדנו וכרמנו ובתינו אנחנו עורבים, וניקחה דגן ברעב. And then they says, because of that, they tell them the full story. They needed food, they put their fields and vineyards on lean, and then they borrowed money. ועתה כבשר אחינו בשרנו כבניהם בנינו והנה אנחנו חובשים את בנינו ובנותינו לעבדים. They say that eventually what happened was that they had to accept forced labor almost as if their children were slaves. They started as free people, became sharecroppers, where they give most of the crop to the owner. And now they became vassals, that they are basically enslaved to the landlords. Nehemiah gets very upset. And he goes to war with the officials and with the leaders of the community. He said, what you're doing is incorrect. You're putting a burden on your brethren with those kind of loans, and especially it was difficult because they're just starting to build a society. They're just starting to build a community. So if people would take advantage in that manner of each other, it's not going to work. He says, ואמרה להם, אנחנו קנינו את אחינו היהודים הנמכרים לגויים כדי בנו, וגם אתם תמכרו את אחיכם ונמכרו לנו. As we were trying as hard as possible to redeem, to pay the ransom for those of our brethren who were sold to non-Jews, and you go and you enslave your own brethren. And it says, Nehemiah comes to the conclusion, it says, גם אני, אחי ונערי, נושים בהם כסף ודגן, עזבנה את המשע הזה. It says now, it happens all the time. And in this case, even Nehemiah, turns out, he didn't know about that, but there were, he himself had loans that he was a creditor and there were debtors, people owed him money. And he said, me and my staff, which also they came from Bavel, they had their wealth. We are willing to let go of our loans. It's reminiscent of what happens in Yirmiyahu. When in Yirmiyahu, in his time, we read Haftarah, Parashat Mishpatim, people had slaves, and he went to we went to war against them to tell them that they must release their slaves and let them go. And he makes a big assembly and brings everyone in and he rebukes them, and they all cry. And they made a commitment. They set them free, and a couple of weeks later they bring them back in. Sapir? So the story with the Yirmiyahu was similar, and Nehemiah gives a personal example, but he himself is the first one to release the debts and returns everything to them. And he says not only that, Nehemiah also took upon himself, even though he got provision from the Persian Empire, he didn't rely on that. Why? Because he knew that eventually this money comes from the taxes that the Jews are paying in Yerushalayim. It was local taxes given to the prince. והפחות הראשונים אשר לפני הכבידו על העם ויקחו מהם בלחם וביין גם נעריהם שלטו על העם ואני לא עשיתי בני יראת אלוהים. The rabbis later on rebuke Nehemiah for being too arrogant, like he praises himself too much. But it's actually good that he wrote that because he gives an example to leaders and rulers who will come after him. He says, I never took the royal provisions. I relied on my own income, and also he instructed his staff to do the same thing. Gam bimlechet hachoma hazot hazakti. He says also, when we were building the wall, I myself took part in the building the wall. והיהודים והסגנים וה150 איש ובאים אלינו מן הגויים אשר סביבותינו על שולחני. And I would have over 150 people eating at my table that he would provide for them. And then he concludes, זוכרה לי אלוהי לטובה כל אשר עשיתי על העם הזה. He says, remember for me, Hashem, all that I did, all my good deeds for that nation. So the rabbis say, because of that, his book was not named after him. But if you look at the Tanakh, it is named after him, right? You have Ezra or Nehemiah. But in the time of the rabbis, there was only one book, Ezra. When the Christian monk who divided the Bible into books and also into chapters, when he went through the Tanakh, he divided Ezra and Nehemiah into 2 books, and that's how we have them today. Yes. That, I'll explain. That division happened in the maybe 11th century or something like that. Up until the time, people used to cross-reference Tanakh by saying the book in Jeremiah, or in the chapter starting in Masabavel, Masatzor. Everybody knew more or less where it is. The division of the Chumash was clear. People knew that you have 5, the Pentateuch. That's why the name is. They have a Greek name. Pentateuch means 5. Pentateuch 5, right? Tuch is like Tomos, is one unit. So they knew that you have the Chumash. They knew that you have the prophets. Most of the books were clearly marked. Where you had the differences in terms of the books is this one, Ezra Nehemiah, which was broken into 2 by that monk, and the books that are split today into 2, Shmuel, Melachim, and Divrei Yamim. Each one of them has Shmuel Aleph, Shmuel Bet, Melachim. It used to be one book, and they were divided to 2 because they were very long. And then there are also some chapters. Now, most of the chapters don't fit with the Mesorah. If you look at Tanakh Koren, there are double marking. On the outside is the common division as we have today. On the inside is the traditional Mesorah. But most of them are not so significant. The most significant difference between one of the most significant differences is in the very first chapter of the Torah, where our division ends after Vaychulu Hashamayim V'Haaretz, because it makes sense, 7 days of creation, and the Christian division ends after the 6th day, and they put Shabbat with the second chapter. In order to separate Shabbat from creation, it was a theological thing. Anyway, go back to Nehemiah in chapter 6. Okay, so in chapter 6 in Nehemiah, Nehemiah receives letters from Sanballat HaHoroni, the adversaries, and they say, we have to talk. We are not happy with that you build the wall and you build the temple, and people claim that you are trying to rebel against the king. And at a certain point, one of the people in Yerushalayim tells Nehemiah, he says, I know that people are plotting against you, they're trying to kill you. And he says, Niva'id el bet Elohim el toch ha'echal, v'nisgera daldot ha'echal ki ba'im leorgecha, v'layla ba'im leorgecha. He said, I know that we are going to coming to kill you, so I have an idea. The one place where we could hide is in the temple. Let's go into the temple at night, close the doors of the temple, of the Echal, and hide there. Sort of seeking asylum in the temple. Va'omera, ha'ish kamoni yivrach, umi chamoni asher evo el ha'echal v'chai lo avo. He said, first, I'm the leader. The leader, I'm not supposed to hide. If I go into hiding because of our adversaries, so that will happen to the next leader, and nobody will take the lead. We have to be strong. Second, he said, you want me to go and hide in the temple? That is inappropriate, breaching the sanctity of the temple. But he knew, he was hired by the adversaries to do that, and was not an easy thing for Nehemiah to manage, because as much as he was trying to get everybody united around the loyalty to Yerushalayim, the Persian Empire, many of the Jews were intermarried with the tribes who lived around them, the Horoni, the Ammoni, the Arvi.
They forced them to divorce.
No, they didn't. We read this in the book of Ezra. Ezra wanted to make it happen, but most probably, and this all the scholars agree, it did not happen. Maybe few people did that, but the majority of the people either stayed with their wives or there was some point of conversion.
Intermarriage is not something new.
Not new at all. Not new at all. This goes back all the way back to the Tanakh. Chapter 7 is basically a census. Chapter 8 is important. This is where Nehemiah, Isaiah and Nehemiah orchestrate kind of Atzeret Hitorut, what we call an awakening, a spiritual awakening. Vayiga Chodesh HaShevi'i. This is one of the few examples that we have in the Tanakh of the description of how people celebrated the holidays. If you look through the Tanakh after the Torah, there are maybe 10 references to holiday, Pesach, Sukkot, very, very little. And this is one of them. In chapter 8 in Nehemiah, Vayiga Chodesh HaShevi'i Uvnei Yisrael Ba'arehem. On the 7th month, everybody was already settled, each one in his city. Vayi'asefu kol ha'am ki'ish echad el harchov asher lifnei sha'ar hamayim. They all gathered to the street in Yerushalayim, and before the Watergate. Interesting, like Watergate is a biblical thing, but Watergate was the gate in the wall through which they would go to the rivers out of Yerushalayim to bring water to the temple. Vayavi Ezrat HaKohen et HaTorah lifnei HaKahal me'ish ve'ad isha v'chol mevin lishmoa b'yom echad lachodesh HaShevi'i. So he reads the Torah to the whole congregation, men and women. They are all gathered there. Min ha'or ad machatzit hayom, from sunrise till noon. It's a long reading. Neged ha'anashim ve'anashim ve'amevinim ve'oznei kol ha'am et sefer ha'Torah. That also gives us an example of what was early prayer at the time of Ezra Sofer. We're not reading about prayers or Amidah or Birkat Kohanim or anything like that. It's the Torah reading, and it says it is directed to the Mevinim, to the people who understand what Ezra is reading. In today's world, we should have had the Torah being read and then translated on the spot, which was done in the time of the rabbis for a short while and then abandoned, but only kept by the Yemenite community, where they still read the Targum in Aramaic. So we have a description. Ezra Sofer stands on a tower. Migdal Eitz asher asu ladavar. From that tower, later on, the Teva evolved in the synagogue where the Hazan stands. In the classic Sephardic synagogues, the Hazan would stand on a tower. You can still see that in the synagogues in Tzefat, Beit Knesset Abu Rav, Beit Knesset Rabbi Yosef Karo. You will see that they have a tower where the Hazan stands. It's higher than that. You have to go upstairs, not 2 or 3 steps, 10 steps. It's almost 5 or 6 feet above ground level. ויקראו בספר בתורת האלוהים מפורש ושום שכל ויבינו במקרא. The pshat of the pasuk, what the Navi or the author is telling us, they read the Torah, they explained it with attention, som sechel, vayavinu b'mikra, to the point they understood what is said. The rabbis in the Talmud say that this is the proof that the Torah shebe'al peh, the oral law, existed, and they say that each one of them refers to one segment of the oral law. But what was the reaction of the people after they heard the reading? We know it from the way the Nehemiah and Ezra spoke to them. They both told the people, Hayom kadosh hu l'Adonai Elohechem, al tit'abelu ve'al tivku. Don't mourn, don't cry. Why? Ki bochim kol ha'am keshoma'am midivrei Torah. That it was more Yom Kippur than Rosh Hashanah. They're all crying, they're all mourning when they hear all the words that Torah says regarding how one should behave, and they felt that they are sinners. ויאמר להם, לכו איכלו משמנים ושתו ממתקים ושילחו מנות לאין נכון לו. What we associate with Purim, which is written in the Megillah, is written here regarding Rosh Hashanah, which shows us, by the way, that Mishloach Manot is not sending fruits and candies and dessert, but mana means a course. You send a dish, rice, potato, vegetable, chicken, beef, whatever it is, we send to each other. When he says shtu mamtakim, today we translate mamtakim as candies, but mamtakim means sweet wine. So eat good food, drink sweet wine, and send food to those who don't have. Ki kadosh yom ladonenu ve'al te'atzevu ki chedvat Adonai ma'uzchem. Says this is a holy day, and the Levites, the Levim, helped them and prompted them to do that. On the second day, and this is the interesting part of that chapter of Nehemiah, we read about how they observed Sukkot. This became a serious problem in the way that Sukkot is described in Nehemiah. Bayom hasheni ne'esfu laskir divrat Torah. On the second day, they came to learn more Torah with him. Ve'imtzeu katuv asher yeshvu bnei Israel b'Sukkot b'chag b'chodesh hashiv'i. They find out, they didn't know that you have to sit in the sukkah. So we're talking about already the temple was inaugurated, they had the Beit HaMikdash, they bring sacrifices, but what a surprise, you have to sit in the sukkah. They didn't know that. So
is it possible that it wasn't kept in Babel?
it is possible, yeah. It was not kept in Babel.
Well, but is it possible that it was not kept in Babel because it wasn't Eretz Israel?
That is also a possibility. It is. So we don't know, but anyway, when they come back, they didn't know. They knew only certain things. The real question is regarding the tradition of the oral law, because we assume that Ezra Sofer has the tradition, but the way it is described is almost even Ezra was surprised to find that, but it's hard to say that. Anyway, so what did they do? ישמיעו ואשר ישמיעו ויעבירו קול בכל הערים וירושלים לאמור. So they said, spread the word, tell everyone to do what? צאו ההר והביאו עלי זית ועלי עץ שמן ועלי הדס ועלי תמרים ועלי עץ אבות לעשות סוכות ככתוב. It says, go get branches of olives, which are not written in the Torah, right? The Torah says עץ הדר. But they say, go bring branches of olives and branches of pine trees. This is it is written here, Etz Shemen, translated as pine tree, but it could mean a different type of olive that was more. One of the olive trees may have been used for olives and one for oil, and maybe it didn't have the same exact leaves. Va'alei hadas, myrtle, va'alei tamarim, palms, va'alei etz avot, the leaves of a thick tree. Now, why is it the problem when you compare it to the Torah? Because the Torah says does not mention hadas by name. Torah says anaf etz avot, and the rabbi said that anaf etz avot, a thick tree, is hadas. But here in Nehemiah, they are written side by side. So they cannot be the one and the same. Not only that, from the way it is written, it says, go bring all these branches and make Sukkot. So when they say to make Sukkot, does it mean to celebrate Sukkot? Or to build the Sukkot? So some scholars suggested that the idea, and even what is written in the Torah, take all these species for Sukkot, was to build the Sukkah and not to hold them. We have a tradition. We have the oral tradition in which we count on the halakha. But maybe the way they did Sukkot in the first day was out of misunderstanding. But it would make, from a Peshat point of view, just looking at the literal meaning of the pasuk, it would make more sense that the commandment of Sukkot is to take all the species and use them to build the sukkah, than to just at one point hold them in your hand. Because how do you define this mitzvah? When do you do it? For how long do you do it? You have to go all day with them. Anyway, that's how they understood the Sukkot. ויצאו העם ויביאו ויעשו להם סוכות, איש על גגו וחצרותיהם, וחצרות בית האלוהים. They got excited, they built Sukkot all over. And not only that, כי לא עשו מימי ישוע בן נון כן בני ישראל עד היום ההוא. Said that they didn't do Sukkot, they didn't celebrate Sukkot in that manner from the time of Yoshua bin Nun. The question is here also, it's hard to say based on the text, whether they mean that the Sukkot was never celebrated or never celebrated in that magnitude. ויקרא בספר תורת עולים יום ביום מן היום הראשון עד היום האחרון ויעשו חג 7 ימים וביום השמיני עצרת כמשפט. So at least they follow in terms of the days, they did 7 days, and on the 8th day they did the Atzeret, the final day of the holiday. Of course, it's not referred to as Simchat Torah, because Simchat Torah for Shmini Atzeret is a much later invention, comes about maybe the 9th century or something like that. Baruch Adonai la'olam, amen ve'amen.